Um, what's concerning for the Yankees is not just LeMahieu, though. It's also the starting rotation. And, Alex could throw up the graphic here, but, they've got a situation. They have James Paxton, Masahiro, Tanaka, who are, out there. And if they don't bring those guys back, you're running into next season with a starting rotation that is like completely unacceptable. You have Garrett Cole starting the season. Luis Severino is going to come back mid-season, and then you've got, Montgomery and David Garcia and Michael King. Domingo Herman might get starts. Like this is, I think this might be a hot take, Nick. The starting rotation for the Yankees is just as big of a concern right now, I think, as DJ LeMahieu, because DJ LeMahieu has been great for the Yankees the last 2 years. They still haven't done what they've wanted to do with him. And I think the biggest need on this team right now is starting pitching. And the fact that not only are they, doesn't really seem like right now they're doing enough to address that, but, they might not even get the guys back that they had last year. And I think that is also a legitimate concern.
It may be a hot take in Yankee land or those who really feel strongly about bringing back DJ LeMahieu, but to me, it's not. I'm in 100% agreement with you in that, to me, I would rather make sure that they nail down having this quality rotation and bringing back who they need to bring back or finding a different starting pitcher to bring in than even bringing back DJ LeMahieu. I think it's that important. Because as good as LeMahieu has been, and I know that might sound sacrilegious and ridiculous, but as good as LeMahieu has been, as you pointed out, they haven't gotten to where they wanted to go. And their lineup, in the criticism for them, is that they strike out and too many power hitters and they don't put the ball in play. Like DJ LeMahieu has been so good in a number of areas, and the reason that the Yankees have been successful with him is not just because he puts the ball in play. Like he's just a really darn good hitter. So it's not just about finding the next guy who just comes in and puts the ball in play to replace he's just really good. But at the same time, they have put the ball in play more. Like last year in the playoffs in particular, that's the popular criticism of the Yankees lineup, that they're home run or bust. They rely on the home run ball too much. And if it's not there, they strike out and they can't move people. They were not striking out a ton throughout last season and into the postseason. And I know it's a small sample size and you want to protect against it. So I would certainly say that, hey, if you weren't to be able to bring back a DJ LeMahieu, Michael Brantley sounds like a good option B, just to make sure that you have somebody with that same type of skill set. But I'm in agreement with you in that the starting rotation is really the area of concern, because that's where things were problematic for the Yankees last year, right? I mean, Garrett Cole was on the whole excellent, had a couple of rough starts, and again, you're dealing with a 60-game sample size, but in the postseason, he was outstanding. But past Garrett Cole, it was like, what are we doing? And they need to iron out some aspects of their bullpen, and you're confident that they can have some of those guys maybe come back and pitch to their potential more than they did. But I'm with you. It's the starting rotation that to me is the biggest area of concern. And I think Luis Severino is going to be really impactful in coming back, again, as you mentioned, mid-season. But they need someone else. And I don't think it's going to be Masahiro Tanaka. I think he's going to be on his way out based upon reading the tea leaves from what Brian Cashman has said. And if it's James Paxton, I'm okay with that insofar as he's healthy, because I think James Paxton is a guy who's got a lot of upside and can be really good and was really good for the Yankees at times when he was healthy. I'm just not sure that was the case last year.
Yeah, and especially I think the starting rotation is important because of what we do not know about the Major League season next year, right? Players and owners are like negotiating this stuff out pretty much through the public, which we've gotten used to, I think, in the past year. And we don't know if there's going to be a DH. We also don't know what the playoffs going to exactly look like. And we had it at 16 last year. My gut instinct says it will be again. But what did we see in the playoffs last year? We saw that the teams with the most and best pitching depth were the ones that won. The Rays have a ton of depth, a bunch of guys they could turn to. In the end, in the World Series, they kind of turned to the wrong guys. That's where they failed. And the Dodgers obviously had a ton of depth as well. And those wound up being the two teams that were in it at the end. And if you have a 16-team format, if you have a similar scheduling to what you had last year, it's going to be the same situation. Like, it's going to be those types of teams that win. And right now, the Yankees don't have that depth. You know, when you bring up who it is, I think that's a really interesting point. There was a report this week that the Reds were shopping Luis Castillo, and maybe that's an option the Yankees could pursue. Who knows? But, when you look at that rotation that I just listed off, and our producer Alex Wolves put the graphic up, you cannot go into the next season with that rotation. And yes, Severino's coming back. I get that. But you can't have that at the beginning of next year. And I think the Yankees are in a weird spot because everybody's saying, oh, go out and get Bauer. I love these internet people. The Mets have the same thing where it's like, get this person, get that person. You can get everybody. They haven't indicated the willingness to do that. They're with a lot of other teams and saying, hey, we're not going to spend like huge this offseason. They just gave $300+ million to Garrett Cole. That they're not going to do that again, but they could go out and get some good arms here. So it'll be interesting to see what winds up happening with the New York Yankees here.